What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for moving forward. I'm also going to talk about some very important news and updates that just came out for the markets, what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, and the QQQ, and all these different tickers, and some very important levels to be watching for. But before I break anything down about all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. Now, the offer ends in just about 5 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market so far. So we had one crazy breakout today on SPY after we broke 433, the exact level we were talking about, and this thing is continuing to look very, very strong. The question is, how is this thing going to move going forward, and what are some very important levels to watch for on SPY and Tesla and all these different stocks? So first, let's talk about what's going on with some data coming out. As a reminder for everyone out there, I just want to remind you all that we have some interesting stuff coming out. So we have Waller and Kashkari giving speeches later on today. So at 1:30 p.m., Waller gives a speech that's for Eastern Standard Time or New York time. And then at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, we have Kashkari giving a speech. And Kashkari tends to be, not like too insane on like the hawkish or dovish side. Tends to be a little bit more dovish, so we'll see what happens with them giving their speeches. It's going to affect the market to some extent, but for the most part, I don't think it's going to be that crazy. Now, I just want to remind everyone about something else. We have the PPI data report coming out for tomorrow. So, if you want to hold through all of this, it is really your choice, but PPI could affect the market. It could cause the market to slow down if it's a little bit hot. So we'll be watching that coming out tomorrow morning before the market opens. And we also have the FOMC minutes coming out later on during the day. So lots of big data is coming out for tomorrow. So once again, this data comes out an hour before open. If you want to hold through it, it's your choice. If you want to just secure profits just to be safe, it's up to you as well. We will see what PPI causes tomorrow. So just be very careful. But for now, I don't want to focus too much on PPI. I want to focus on the chart right now. What's happening to SPY? How on earth is this thing looking? So on SPY, we're on a very, very strong uptrend. We just got this crazy breakout. We actually have the levels right here. We broke this 433 resistance very, very nicely, and this thing started pushing towards these imbalances. Now, I just want to remind everyone, when we look at the daily chart, we have some gaps which are unfilled, and we're getting very close to filling some. So let me just show you where the gaps are. We basically have two gaps. There's one right here. I know it's a little hard to see for a lot of people, so I'm going to zoom in a bit. This gap right here just got filled, or it came very close to getting filled from like this level. We also have this gap over here, right? This gap right here. So this one hasn't been filled at 438.5. So I could see more upside for SPY later on, but so far we just have to see this thing, break above these very critical resistance levels. So we have this unfilled gap on the daily. This looks like it might get filled at 438.5 in the future. Let's see if this could fill today or not. We have to try to break this 438 resistance and get above 437.5. Those are two resistance levels to watch for, and then we could fill this gap. I would love to see that before PPI or CPI come out, so we'll just have to wait and see how they affect us. But overall, there's no sign of this trend reversing just yet. We're continuing to uptrend overall. It's still going up and up and up. So I can't truly call a top just yet, and we just want to be watching these levels. All right, so anyways, going back to the setup, one could argue there's a rising wedge on SPY that's forming, but this does not guarantee anything. These don't always play out. So we'll have to just see if there's any sign of a reversal if we do end up breaking below this lower trend line. So you're going to be watching this trend line up here, right? These trend lines right here. See, do we break above this and try to invalidate this, or do we end up like sinking down to test this lower trend line right here and then break below that? If it breaks below that, that's going to be your signal that this, rising wedge is playing out. As long as it doesn't happen, there's no sign of it playing out just yet. But I just wanted to call it out just in case something happens. And it's okay to just have this drawn out just to be safe. And for the time being, we're just going to talk about some levels now. So SPY is holding up very nicely above 437. If we continue to break out, watch 437.5. Then if we break down, watch 438. Those are some very, very tight levels. We have a gap to fill at 438.5 above that. If we fill the gap and keep going, the next level is going to be 440. But I would say that the most likely possibility would be if we do end up filling the gap at 438.5-ish, we could see a rejection after that. So watch those levels very carefully. For support, you're going to be watching 436.5, and then below that we have 436 flat, then 435, which is where we have the lower trend line. If 435 breaks, we could come all the way back down to about 433. But for now, it's holding up very nicely. We're holding 437. To turn really bullish, you want to see this thing break above 437.5, and this thing will likely try to fill the gap to 438.5. So it's looking quite good so far. Now, for Tesla, I just wanted to mention that Tesla's looking quite decent. It's currently at 266. Now, one level we called out was if Tesla broke 263, this thing would start pushing for 265 plus. If that broke, the next level would be around this 268 area, right? And that's where Tesla ended up topping at. Now, to turn bullish on Tesla, I want to see this thing hold 268. If it holds that, it can start pushing even higher. But we have some tight resistance because, first off, that was previous, right here, that was previous support becoming resistance. Secondly, we have a chop zone right here, so some very tight resistance at 268. And that is what's slowing Tesla down for now. Tesla tried to get above 260 and hold it, but ended up failing so far. But there is potential for it to try to get above that. So if it breaks that, that's going to be a bullish signal. If we break and hold 268 or try to close above it, there is going to be potential for it to push up even higher past 270, 272 above that, 274 above that. Then we have even higher levels like, the 278. But for now, we're not going to worry about 278 just yet. Let's now focus on where Tesla is, which is 266.5. If we lose that, watch 265 as critical support. If that fails Tesla, we have 263 to 262.5. If that fails, watch 260. As of right now, Tesla's kind of like shuffling around this area in the 266s, holding up quite nicely. As long as it holds above 265, it's going to be in a decent place. And to turn more bullish, we want to see it break and hold 268. So watch that entire zone basically very carefully. For the QQQ, our Invesco QQQ, right? This is looking quite good so far for the bulls because we've been holding above 370. Now, if we break below 370, watch 368 and 366 as critical supports. And if we break above 370 and hold it, watch this thing push for this resistance right here, which is around 371-ish. We have some resistance there. That's where we have this rejection candlestick right here. If it breaks above that, watch 372.65, so 372.65. If that breaks, watch 375 and then 377 above that. As of right now, as long as it can close above like 370, it's going to be in a very, very good place for tomorrow. But don't forget, we have the PPI data coming out. This has been cooling off quite a bit, so it may not cause like an insane move, but it could cause some volatility. So we'll see what that causes tomorrow. But as long as it closes above 370, we're going to be in a decent place for tomorrow. So watch those levels very, very carefully. All right. Now, when it comes to Nvda is looking quite good too for the bulls. Nvda has been holding up very, very nicely, testing this 460 area. I called out 461 in the morning if this thing managed to break above 457. That's exactly where Nvda ended up seeing its top, very close to that area. So very, very close. Now, if Nvda breaks this 461 zone of resistance, I can see this thing trying to get closer to about this 465 area, but as of right now, it's kind of shuffling. So it may just continue to shuffle for an extended period of time. If it comes down, if it breaks below 460, you're going to be watching support at 457.5-ish. That's the previous resistance becoming support and the previous high rate over here. So watch that very carefully. If 457 fails, let's watch 455. Now, as of right now, it's holding up very nicely. This trend looks more bullish. So the odds do favor it continuing to push up. That will depend on PPI for tomorrow. For the rest of the day, it's going to depend on the market. I believe we should be watching this resistance in the very, very low 460s, like 461 to 462. If we break it, there could be more upside coming. As of right now, it's kind of just shuffling around. So we'll see if we can get a end of the day push or not. As of right now, it's looking quite strong, however, and the odds do favor more upside for the future. For Apple stock, I think there was a rising wedge. I was seeing, this potentially forming. For Apple, we're currently testing this resistance around this 179.5 to 179.68 area. We have a very, very small, tight range of resistance. If it breaks this, I could see Apple going for 180. And if that breaks, it could go even higher towards like 181.4, 182.5. 181.4 is this resistance right here before the gap. So it's worth watching. I would say that we also happen to have this rising wedge, so be very careful on Apple. If this thing breaks below this critical support right here around this 178.4 area, if it breaks below that, the last support right here is going to be around 177.5, and this thing could start sinking a little lower if we do break below this trend line. So watch that very carefully because of the rising wedge. You want to be watching to see Apple hold that for the time being. If Apple, continues to break up, if it breaks 180, it could keep going. But as of right now, Apple's kind of just like it's shuffling, just like Nvidia, going back and forth in the 179s. Could continue this way for some time because we have some tight resistance very close to 180. So we're going to be watching this very, very carefully. All right. So we'll see if Apple tries to keep going. Even if it closes here, it's going to be in a very decent place. Or if this thing ends up coming back down and breaks below this trend line going into tomorrow because of PPI. So just watch this very carefully, see which way we break. And as of right now, Apple's holding up very, very nicely. All right, guys. So with that said, I want to keep this one kind of simple. The last things I'm just going to mention are that the VIX is down almost 6% as we expected. The dollar is coming down off the head and shoulders we called out yesterday, right? Going back, we have this very, very clean looking head and shoulders on the dollar. And this is dropping because of what's happening in Israel. That was what we were expecting. And finally, the 10-year Treasury yield is continuing to sink as we predicted. Everything is now playing out very, very nicely. And the market is once again pumping thanks to the yields dropping and other factors like that. All right. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, guys. We'll be watching these supports very carefully. We'll be remaining calm, cool, and collected. And I'll see you guys in the final video of the day. Thank you and peace out.